Hi, this is Joan McGrory, and I'm here to talk to you as faculty or adjunct faculty about giving the SLO test using our online SLO testing system to your particular class section. As our faculty, if you are teaching a course that has an associated test in the SLO system, it's very important that you do this. By doing this, you support our accreditation practices and our process of continuous improvement. An important point when giving this SLO test is that it can be a little uncomfortable the first time because you're trying to kind of understand what your role is in the process. And associated with that, there's a feeling that you're being judged, and please don't feel that way. This is about understanding if the students understand really key concepts, and if they don't, what can we do to keep improving that course, to raise up that understanding, especially when we see this as a trend. So please know that that's what this is about. What I want to talk to you about today is our online SLO testing system and just some of the really basic things that you need to know to make sure that your students can take that test, that they take it when you want them to take it and under the conditions that you want them to take it, and then that you can review their score and give points to them for their successes on this. So let me take a minute and just show that to you now. And thank you for watching this video and for participating in that process. To begin, I want you to log in to My Southwest. By the way, your students will do the same thing. They'll log into My Southwest, and when they do, many of them will rush to click on the pause icon, but that's not where they go for the SLO test. For the SLO test, they'll look through their unique set of icons, and they'll find one that has this same look to it, the SLO, but it'll say student under there, and they'll click on that to go into their test. Now, when you log in to My Southwest, you'll see multiple icons, and I want to give you a caution. It's very likely that you will see this SLO icon, and that's a blue R behind it. That's for reporting, and it tends to appear up higher in the list, so please ignore that and just continue your search through this list of icons until you see the really clear SLO, with the white background here, and it should say faculty. Again, if you see a department chair icon, just ignore that. You're looking for SLO faculty, and this is where it all begins. If you've only been teaching with us for one particular semester, in fact, if this is your first semester, you may not see anything listed here. If you've been teaching with us for a while, you may have some semesters listed here. The new semester will be listed, or the current semester, a couple weeks into the start of the semester. Now, we currently test in the classes where we have SLO test for the full semester. That includes high school. If they're on a different calendar, the dual enrollment classes, those are tested. If you're in a SWIFT course, those are those 3-week classes. We do not test SWIFT 1. We do test SWIFT 2, 3, and 4. We test for Flex 1 as well as Flex 2. We test for in Winter 1, but not Winter 2. So pretty much if you're teaching a class, you're going to be giving this SLO test if you have a test associated with your course. When you find the term, you'll look across, and you are interested in particular in this section list. I'm going to click that little number for under the current semester, whichever that happens to be, and you'll see all the classes that you're teaching, and there's really only 2 links that you can click for each course. You can either click the CRN number, or you can click the list under reports. I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily pick this first class, and I'm going to click the CRN number. This is where you're going to do your setup. You'll see your class name, and by default, the duration of the quiz is 90 minutes. Now, it's a 15-question multiple choice quiz, and typically they don't require 90 minutes. You may want to change the duration for that and set it to a shorter time. I set a password on my test, and I encourage you to do the same, because if a student opens the test and they realize they're not ready to take it, or they just clicked the link by accident, really, because they were exploring in My Southwest, they use up their one attempt. And students only have one attempt at this test. So all the password does, I would not say that it's high security as much as it just simply gives pause so that they don't go rushing into the test and use up that attempt. Now you can see here that you can set a start date and an end date. By default, the SLO test will close to your students. They will have no further access to the test when the term ends, whether that's the Flex 1 term or a Swift 2 term. Whenever that term ends, the students will no longer have access to the test. When does access begin? Typically, it begins in the first full month of the fall or spring semester, which is the 2 semesters when we offer the test. An email typically goes out and says this is when the test is going to open. This is when your students will have access to that test unless you set a different start date, and I encourage you to do that. Oftentimes the things that we're testing on are things that we cover throughout the term. So if they take the test too early, they may not yet have the knowledge that they need that you're going to teach them. And that's the goal of the assessment, is to see if they learned throughout the class. So you want to make sure they don't, get in there too soon. Now, when does the test start? If you choose, these are optional settings, but I encourage you to think about these. If you decide, you can put the starting hour and starting minute, and you'll notice that it's military time, and so 00 and 1 minute. It's a 1 minute, in the new day is when this test is going to open, and then 23:55 for the ending. That's for me 11:55. If you prefer 11:59, then 23:59. I'm going to cancel from this screen, but I think you'll see it's pretty straightforward, the values that you put in. I'm going to click cancel. And now I'm back, and remember, I only have 2 options. I can click the CRN number, or I can click this report. So when I click list, this is what you need to be able to see how the students scored, which is especially important if you're assigning points. So here are the students that were in my class, and I'm going to obscure their names, for protection. I can see when exactly they took the test. I can see how long they spent in the test. That may be significant, especially if a student, is complaining that they experienced an internet disruption, something like that. And that may encourage you to give them an alternate way to earn points. But remember, they only have one attempt at the test. I can see how many answers they got correct. I've known faculty and adjunct faculty who have used a variety of incentives to encourage students to get the answers correct and to do well on this quiz. I can see what they were struggling with. And if I see, like for example, this is for objective 4, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, they struggled. And in fact, I see this in multiple students. So I know that I may have to emphasize that more personally as I continue forward in my teaching. This may be a particularly difficult concept, right? But it's just some feedback that I have personally that helps me to understand some things that I can do with this, right? But we're measuring the student understanding. So you can use this as soon as they submit the test. You will know as soon as they submit it. You can go to this screen and you can see the point value that they got on the test, how many questions they answered correctly. And that's it. That really is all there is to the test. Now, if I go back, to when we first came in to this instructor screen, you may be wondering, how do I know if my course has an SLO test associated with it? And how do I know what those questions are? Well, there is a link up here at the top. As soon as you come into this page, see where it says click here to view exam questions for all terms. So if I click this, I see the year, and this is actually the month. The number 1 is for January, so that's the spring semester. 8 is for the fall semester, it's August. And so we only offer the test in the spring and fall semesters. So you want to look at that. And this is not the only test that we have. If you click on this drop-down box, you can scroll through and you can find any course that has one of these tests. I'm going through this quickly because it changes, as we add and that type of thing. So look through there. Once you pick a class, let's just say I'm going to pick the 1300, the personal finance class, and I would click View Course Exam. What I would see is the exam in the same way that it displays to the students. Now you'll notice I'm not displaying it on this video because I want to emphasize an important point. You do not share these questions with the students. We're measuring our teaching ability in aggregate, and so this is our mechanism for collecting that data. And one of the necessary components to making this measurement is that we have to measure apples to apples to apples to apples across semesters, across academic years. So we don't want to change the questions too much because it would introduce a lot of variable into the measurement. Sometimes a question is poorly worded, for example. We want you as faculty, as adjunct faculty, to be able to look at those questions. Please don't share them with your students, okay? That's all that we're asking. Now, can you talk about a question after a student, struggles with one and afterwards they talk to you? Sure. What we're discouraging is giving away copies of it or making it available in the sense that the students could easily make a copy. We don't want to do that. We want to promote learning. We don't want to give away copies of the quiz. You are professionals. You have been doing this, and we're delighted to have you, and we know you'll take care with this. So I hope this helps. Again, we went into My Southwest. We clicked the faculty SLO icon, making sure to avoid these ones with the blue R in the background or the department chair icon. As faculty, when you go in, you're going to arrive at this page, the instructor page. You'll see the new term once it's created. You're going to click under section list on the number. Once you arrive at the number, you can first click on the CRN number. Make sure that you control access to the test, the duration that the student is going to have to take the test. You put a start and stop date and time if that's what you'd like. That way you really control that access. Once you have that and the time comes and it's time to take the test, then you can see how the students are doing as soon as they click the submit button. You can click on under list and you'll immediately see their scores. So I hope that's helpful, and thank you so much for all you do for Southwest.